Every December, millions of children sing a song they think is about Christmas cheer, but not a single line in its original verses mentions the holiday, family, or peace. Jingle Bells was written in 1857, not for children, but for white performers in blackface to mock enslaved black people as comic entertainment. The lyrics they never taught you about drunk men racing sleighs and failed pickup lines were designed to make audiences laugh at racist caricature, not celebrate winter joy. For over 80 years, we have called this an innocent tradition while hiding its origins, and every time the chorus plays, we participate in the LIE. How did a song born on a minstrel stage in Boston become the soundtrack of Christmas in every American school? It is time to hear what was always missing, to face the truth, and to decide what you will do next. On the printed page, the words are instantly familiar, yet something is missing. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what joy it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Line by line, there is no mention of Christmas, nay Santa, no manger, no gifts, no tree, not a single word about family or faith. The lyrics set the scene: winter, snow, a sleigh, bells. The excitement comes from racing across fields, the sound of bells, the thrill of speed. The only promise is a good time, spirits lifted, voices singing, the rush of cold air. This is not a hymn or a prayer. It is not a story about kindness or generosity. It is not a lesson for children. The song is about a ride, fast, loud, and a little reckless. Even the chorus, the part every child shouts in December assemblies, is just a celebration of motion and noise, bells ringing, laughter echoing, a horse cutting through snow. Every December, millions of children sing these lines, convinced they are sharing in a sacred holiday tradition. But the original sheet music, published in Boston in 1857, makes no such claim. Its cover shows a sleigh, not a nativity. The dedication is to John P. Ordway, leader of a minstrel troupe, not a church or community. What is left on the page is just winter fun, no Christmas, no peace on earth, no goodwill to men. The gap between what is sung and what is printed is right there in black and white. All the holiday spirit, all the nostalgia was added later. In the beginning, Jingle Bells was just about a wild ride through the snow. Hidden in the verses most people never hear. The song drops clues that the story is not as innocent as it sounds. One word stands out: upsot. It is not a typo or an old-fashioned spelling. In 1857, upsot meant overturned, crashed, dumped in the snow, sprawled on your back. The first verse does not end with a cheerful finish. It ends with a wreck. The sleigh tips, the riders go flying, and the mood turns from laughter to embarrassment. Then comes a name that almost never makes it into school assemblies: Fanny Bright. In the second verse, she is picked up for a ride, no chaperone, no family, just two people squeezed together under a blanket. The lines are clear: a day or two ago I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. Not a child's adventure, but an adult's invitation. The sleigh tips again. The crash is not just slapstick, it is a punchline with the woman as witness. The original lyrics keep going. Later verses talk about picking up girls, racing other men, and betting on whose horse is faster. Even the chorus, shouted by children at holiday concerts, was never meant for children. The fun is the thrill of speed, the risk of a crash, the company of women. The song's narrator is not a jolly caroler, he is a brash young man bragging about wild rides and mishaps. These details, upsot, Fanny Bright, the missing verses, are not small quirks. They are evidence of what the song was really about before it was sanitized. The version taught in schools leaves out the flirting, the crashes, the drinking. But the original story is still there, buried just beneath the melody. waiting for anyone willing to look past the chorus. The evidence is stamped into the historical record, no room for folk tales, no space for legend. On September 16, 1857, just one day after its first public performance, the one-horse open sleigh was officially registered for copyright in Boston. The publisher was Oliver Ditson and Company. The composer was James Pierpont. The dedication printed in bold on the title page goes straight to John P. Ordway, Esquire, the man behind Ordway's Aeolians, Boston's leading blackface minstrel troupe. That single line, respectfully dedicated to John P. Ordway, Esquire, locks the song's origin to a minstrel stage, not a snowy New England church or a family parlor. The sheet music itself is a piece of primary evidence. The Library of Congress holds a copy. Its cover is engraved with a one-horse sleigh dashing through drifts. The date, September 16, 1857, is clear on the copyright ledger. There is no mention of Christmas, no hint of sacred celebration. Instead, the document ties the song to a commercial entertainment circuit that thrived on racial caricature. Every detail on the page, publisher's imprint, composer's name, dedication, matches the playbill from Ordway Hall where the song premiered for a paying audience the night before. The dedication is not a flourish. In the world of 1850s American music, a dedication to a troupe leader meant the song was written for that company, for that stage, for those performers. Pierpont's other works for Ordway's Aeolians followed the same pattern: minstrel numbers, comic routines, dialect songs designed to fit the blackface formula. The copyright record closes the door on alternate origin stories. There is no Medford church performance, no Savannah debut, no anonymous folk tradition. The Library of Congress scan, the publisher's stamp, and the dedication all point in one direction. Jingle Bells began as a minstrel show number crafted and copyrighted for a blackface troupe. This is not a matter of interpretation, it is a matter of public record, signed and dated. The sheet music is not just a relic, it is the primary source. Every claim about the song's origin, every myth about its meaning has to answer to that stamped and notarized page. The timeline is fixed. September 15, 1857, the stage. September 16, 1857, the Copyright Office. The artifact remains evidence that cannot be wished away, no matter how many times the story is retold each December. James Lord Pierpont's life was never simple or secure. Born in Boston in 1822, he grew up in the shadow of a famous father, a Unitarian minister and abolitionist whose poetry filled lecture halls. But family values did not guarantee stability. By his 20s, James was already drifting, chasing fortune in the California goldfields, running a failing business, and returning east with debts and little to show for it. The 1850 census lists him as a musician in Medford, Massachusetts, scraping by with a modest estate and a growing family to support. Work came in pieces, teaching music, playing organ, composing songs for anyone who would pay. By the mid-1850s, Boston's thriving minstrel scene offered a lifeline. Pierpont wrote at least a dozen songs for troupes such as Ordway's Aeolians, tailoring each piece to the blackface routines that packed theaters. The pay was not steady, but it was better than nothing. In 1857, he sold the one-horse open sleigh to Oliver Ditson and Company, dedicating it to John P. Ordway, the troupe leader. There is no record of a windfall. No evidence shows Pierpont ever profited beyond a small one-time payment. The copyright quickly lapsed, and the song's future earnings slipped away to publishers and performers. Family life grew more complicated. Pierpont's marriage faltered, and after his wife's death, he left Massachusetts for Savannah, Georgia. There he remarried and found work as an organist at Trinity Church. The Civil War forced a choice. While his father preached abolition in Boston, James enlisted with the Confederacy, serving as a bandmaster and composing songs for the Southern cause. The break with his family was never mended. Pierpont's later years were marked by disappointment and distance. He published more music, some sentimental, some martial, some comic, but none brought lasting success. When he died in Savannah in 1893, his name was barely remembered. His most famous song had already been repackaged and retitled, its origins obscured. This is not a story of simple villainy or simple heroism. It is the story of a man hustling for survival in a world that rewarded spectacle and novelty more than principle. He wrote what the market demanded, songs for blackface, songs for war, songs for whatever audience would listen. The cheerful melody that survives is only the surface. Underneath lies a lifetime of compromise, financial strain, and the shifting loyalties of a country at war with itself. Johnny Pell took his place at the end of the semicircle. Powdered in burnt cork, his top hat tilted, his gloves flashed with every exaggerated gesture. In Boston's Ordway Hall, he was not simply a performer. He was the blackface dandy, the end man whose entire act revolved around parody. Pell specialized in a character white audiences knew by heart, the strutting, overdressed, self-important black man, played for laughs as foolish and out of place. When he launched into the one-horse open sleigh on September 15, 1857, he did not perform as himself. He performed as a caricature, an invented persona meant to be mocked from the first note. The black-faced dandy was a stock figure, loud, boastful, always trying to impress and always failing. Pell's job was to play up every stereotype, from the way he walked to the way he mangled words. The humor was not just in the sleigh crash or the mishaps with Miss Fanny Bright. The humor was in the idea that someone like him could never get it right. The audience expected it, they paid for it. The Dandy Darkies set was built on a formula: blackness as comic incompetence, urban style as empty show, ambition as a joke. Pell's performance of Pierpont's song fit perfectly, singing about racing, flirting, and crashing, all with a wink that told the crowd, of course he could not handle it. This was not accidental. Minstrel shows depended on these roles, each one reinforcing a dehumanizing lens. The laughter was not merely about a sleigh tipping over. It was about watching a blackface character fail again and again for everyone's amusement. Pell, the end man, was both the star and the target. His act made the crowd complicit in the joke, a joke that never let its subject forget who the fool was supposed to be. Beneath the footlights at Ordway Hall, spectacle was the secret ingredient. The stage came alive with a flurry of props designed for maximum effect. Sleigh bells were fastened to sticks or harnesses, ready to jingle on cue. Long whips cracked in perfect rhythm to punctuate punchlines. Handfuls of shredded paper or flour tossed from above mimicked a sudden snowstorm. The machinery of the minstrel show ran on these sensory tricks. Every bell and whip was timed to the lyrics. When the song reached the line bells on Bobtail Ring, a hidden ringer set the sleigh bells chiming, filling the hall with metallic cheer. At the line crack, "You will take the lead," the endman snapped a whip with a flourish, drawing a gasp or a laugh. The snowball scene, a crowd favorite, turned the stage into chaos as performers hurled fake snow, slipping and tumbling in exaggerated pratfalls. These were not just decorations, they were cues for the audience. The sound of bells signaled excitement, the whip meant trouble, and the snowballs guaranteed a comic disaster. Stagehands and performers worked in tandem, their timing as crucial as the music itself. The result was a sensory overload that made each mishap bigger, each joke louder. The audience did not just watch. They reacted, conditioned to laugh when the bells rang off-beat or the dandy landed face first in a pile of snow. The props were not just for show. They were engineered to turn every sleigh crash and stumble into a shared punchline, making the laughter as orchestrated as the song. Laughter was never just background noise at Ordway Hall. It was the currency of the night, traded for every stumble, every exaggerated pratfall, every moment the end man's bravado collapsed into chaos. When Johnny Pell, powdered in burnt cork, reached the line about the sleigh overturning, the words, "And then we got up," landed like a signal. The punchline was not subtle. The crowd knew exactly what to do. Decades of minstrel routines had trained audiences to respond on cue. The crash was the payoff, the humiliation the joke. No need for a clever lyric or a moral. The spectacle was the point, failure as entertainment, and the room was in on it. Contemporary accounts describe a clear rhythm. The bells ring, the whip cracks, the dandy tumbles, and applause breaks out in waves. The laughter is not just at the accident, it is at the figure on stage, a blackface caricature played for maximum mockery. The audience is not passive. They are participants encouraged to jeer, to clap, to call for more. The comic crash is engineered for their delight, a ritual humiliation that lands every time. The more spectacular the fall, the louder the approval. No review survives spelling out the exact reaction to one-horse open sleigh that night, but the formula appears again and again. The biggest laugh comes at the moment of failure. In this system, the song's humor depends on the crowd's willingness to laugh at racialized incompetence. The line between performer and spectator blurs. The joke only works if everyone agrees who the fool is supposed to be. The applause becomes an endorsement, a public stamp that says this is what's funny, this is who belongs at the bottom. The audience's complicity is not accidental. It is the engine that keeps the show running. In 1943, a single recording session at Decca Records set off a chain reaction that would forever change the meaning of Jingle Bells. Bing Crosby, already the most recognizable voice in American music, went into the studio to record songs for a holiday release. The tune he chose was not a Christmas carol, it was an old sleighing song, stripped of its original verses about taverns and flirtation, pared down to a chorus and a single verse. Crosby did not invent the change, but his recording made it inevitable. Crosby's producer made one small, deliberate addition, a layer of sleigh bells recorded and overdubbed so they shimmer behind every line. The effect was instant. The bells created a soundscape that felt like December, even though the lyrics never mention Christmas. Decca released the track in the winter of 1943, packaging it on a Christmas album at a moment when Americans, weary from years of war, were searching for comfort and nostalgia. The record climbed the charts, filled radio playlists, and reshaped what listeners thought the song meant. Record executives watched sales climb and realized they had stumbled on a formula. Take a catchy old tune, scrub away the messy history, add a holiday label, and sell it back as tradition. The song was reborn as a Christmas anthem, and the commercial whitewash had begun. Within a year, other artists rushed to copy the arrangement, sleigh bells, children's choirs. No trace of the original verses. The past was buried beneath a layer of commercial polish. What began as a tavern tune and a minstrel show gag became, by corporate choice, the soundtrack of American Christmas. Television took hold of American holidays like nothing before. By the mid-1950s, families gathered around the set for annual Christmas specials, and the airwaves filled with familiar melodies. Disney, already an authority on what counted as family entertainment, played a decisive role. In 1958, the Disneyland Anthology series aired a holiday episode featuring animated animals skating and singing along to Jingle Bells, but only the chorus and the first verse. The verses about picking up women, betting, and crashes were nowhere to be heard. Each December, Disney's Christmas specials returned, chipmunks, mice, and snowmen jingling bells, their voices layered over a sanitized refrain. The original story, races, flirtation, and mishaps, was erased, replaced by scenes of innocence and cheer. By 1961, Jingle Bells was a staple on Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color. The pattern was always the same. The song played in the background of sleigh rides, snowball fights, and animated parades. The lyrics were trimmed to a single looping chorus. Any hint of adult themes vanished. No Fanny Bright, no overturned sleighs, no tavern stops. The music became pure background, safe, repetitive, and endlessly marketable. Disney's specials aired coast to coast, watched by millions. The version children learned at school matched the one they heard on television. It was short, cheerful, and stripped of anything controversial. This was not just about what was sung, it was about what was remembered. Disney's holiday programming rewrote collective memory, embedding a chorus in the minds of an entire generation. By the time the 1970s arrived, the original verses were all but forgotten. The song that began as a minstrel show number, risky, raucous, and meant for adult laughter, had been refashioned into a children's anthem. The new tradition was everywhere, in classrooms, in living rooms, and in the commercials between. The past was edited out, replaced by a chorus that promised nothing but joy. Music publishers took the transformation from the stage to the classroom and made it official on the printed page. By the early 20th century, sheet music editions of Jingle Bells began to look very different from the original 1857 publication. The first Oliver Ditson and Company edition, titled The One-Horse Open Sleigh, printed all 4 verses, complete with drunken crashes, flirtations, and the now vanished upsot. But as the decades passed, new printings quietly trimmed the text. By 1950, the most widely sold songbooks and piano arrangements included only the first verse and the chorus. The second verse, with Miss Fanny Bright squeezed into the sleigh, was gone. The third, with its tavern bravado and bets, was erased. What remained was a single, sanitized stanza, just enough to fit a holiday sing-along, safe for children and radio play. The cover art changed too. Instead of a simple sleigh, publishers dressed the scene with holly, snowflakes, and red ribbons. Jingle Bells now appeared in collections labeled Christmas Favorites or Holiday Classics, even though not a word in the lyrics mentioned Christmas. The song's new identity was cemented not by what it said, but by what was left out. Every time a music teacher opened a school songbook, the omissions did the work. No Fanny Bright, no overturned sleigh, no hint of the original rowdiness. Publishers had done what radio and television producers had started, cut away the inconvenient verses and wrapped the chorus in holiday cheer. By mid-20th century, the sanitized sheet music became the standard. The evidence is clear in a side-by-side comparison. The 1859 edition, brimming with racy detail, and the 1950 version stripped to a single looping refrain. The whitewash was not accidental, it was deliberate, measured, and profitable. The song that began as a minstrel show spectacle ended up as a blank canvas for nostalgia, its uncomfortable past buried in the publisher's wastebasket. In 2017, the city of Brighton, Massachusetts, faced a decision that broke through decades of silence. The issue landed on the agenda of a routine town meeting: what to do about the historical plaque at 19 High Street. The marker, installed years earlier, proudly claimed the site as the birthplace of Jingle Bells. Local tradition insisted that James Lord Pierpont wrote the song in a Medford tavern, inspired by sleigh races on the frozen streets outside. The plaque celebrated this as a point of civic pride, a harmless bit of holiday nostalgia, carved in metal and set in stone. But that winter, new research from Boston University historian Kina Hamill surfaced in the local press. Her work traced the song's true debut not to a Medford parlor, but to the stage of Boston's Ordway Hall in 1857, performed by a blackface minstrel troupe. The evidence was clear: playbills, copyright records, and the original sheet music all pointed to a minstrel show, not a family gathering. The plaque's version of events was not just incomplete, it was wrong. Town officials found themselves in unfamiliar territory. At the next meeting, voices from the Medford Historical Society and local educators filled the room. Some argued that removing the plaque would erase history. Others insisted that leaving it up would be a lie, repeating a sanitized story while ignoring the harm done by the song's origins. The debate spilled into the local paper and onto social media. Letters poured in, some from alumni who remembered singing Jingle Bells at school pageants, others from parents demanding an honest reckoning with the past. The minutes from that meeting record the turning point, an unanimous vote to remove the plaque. The city's official statement acknowledged the song's racist minstrel origins and the need to correct the public record. Workers took down the marker before the next holiday season. For the first time, the city confronted the uncomfortable truth behind its most famous claim to fame. The fallout was immediate. Local news ran headlines about political correctness and a war on Christmas. Some residents called the decision an overreaction. Others said it was long overdue. School music teachers quietly reconsidered their holiday concert lineups. For a brief moment, the story of Jingle Bells was not just about nostalgia or civic pride. It was about whose history gets told and whose pain gets ignored. The plaque's removal did not erase the past. It forced the town to face it in public with no chorus to drown out the facts. In classrooms across the country, the song is still a December ritual. Music teachers hand out sanitized sheet music. Children memorize the chorus. Winter assemblies echo with bells. Most lesson plans do not mention where the song came from or why whole verses disappeared. For most students, Jingle Bells is just another assignment to sing before break. No questions asked. December, but the questions are growing louder. In recent years, school districts from Massachusetts to California have faced pressure to confront the song's origins. Music committees debate whether to keep it on the winter concert list. Some schools quietly drop the song and replace it with newer pieces. Others add a short note in the program acknowledging the minstrel show connection. Questions. The controversy does not stop there. Parent groups split along sharp lines. Some argue that removing the song is erasing history. Others say teaching it without context is the real erasure. The split is more than argument. It is about what we are willing to admit and what we prefer to forget. Erasure, the stakes are not only academic. Every December, licensing companies collect royalties for every school performance, every streamed concert, every playlist that includes Jingle Bells. The money flows to publishers and estates, not to the communities that were mocked by the song's original context. Estimates put annual earnings for Jingle Bells in the millions. Millions. For Black students, the experience is rarely neutral. Some recall sitting in music class, singing words they did not understand, and learning years later that the song was written for white actors in blackface. Others describe the discomfort of performing a song with roots in mockery, smiling for family photos while the truth was left unsaid. In 2018, a high school senior in upstate New York wrote an open letter asking why she was required to sing a minstrel show song at the winter concert. The administration offered an alternative, but the debate played out in local headlines for weeks. 2018. Even among teachers, there is no simple consensus. Some insist the meaning has changed and the song belongs in the repertoire. Others believe teaching the full history is the only honest path forward. A few have started classroom discussions about origins, using the song as a case study in how traditions are built and erased. In those rooms, students ask hard questions about who decides what counts as tradition and what it means to celebrate something with a hidden past. Hard. The answers are rarely easy. But every December, as the chorus rings out in auditorium and gymnasium, the same question returns. What are we really teaching when we call this song innocent? And who pays the price for keeping it that way? Innocent. Price. Pinpointers to consider. First, schools that keep the song often teach a version stripped of verses but not the history. Second, corporate profit and nostalgic comfort helped erase context. Third, acknowledging the past does not erase childhood memories. It reshapes them with truth. Complicity. This moment is not about blame, it is about choice. You can keep singing without knowing, or you can learn the history and decide what to do next. Either way, the song sounds different once you know the story. Truth. Every December, corporations earn millions from a song whose true origins most listeners never question. In classrooms and shopping malls, nostalgia drowns out history, reminding us that comfort often wins over truth. But silence is a choice. The next time you hear those bells, ask yourself, who benefits when we call erasure tradition? The answer echoes louder than any chorus. Share your thoughts below, especially if this changed how you hear the holidays.